Welcome to TartleCast with your hosts Alexander McKegg and Jason Rigby, where humanity steps into the future and source data defines the path.
Welcome back, everybody, to TartleCast. Not turtle, tartle. That's funny. I got a call.
Not Tardil.
Yeah, I got a call from someone the other day, and they're like, "Oh, blah blah blah, your company Turtle," and I'm like, "Do you see a U in that?"
Yeah.
You know,
you are not involved in turtle.
I don't know what you're talking about. What is a turtle? I'm not involved with any turtle thing. You know, it's Tartle, ARTLE. You have an article here, not an article, an article.
Yes, it's gonna be fire.
Yeah, I don't know anything about it, but I said, why don't you just tee me up on this? Because I think this could be...
No, I love this article. Yeah, it's from bizjournals.com. A Massachusetts woman's lawsuit accuses Google of using free labor to transcribe books and newspapers. So here's a class action lawsuit.
Can we talk about the title, though?
Yeah.
A woman's lawsuit?
Yeah.
What's the difference between if it's a man or a woman?
I think it's just a clickbaity type.
No, I know that.
Massachusetts woman's lawsuit.
It's absurd how they're trying to coerce us into reading the article. I'm already triggered. Go ahead.
Yeah. A Massachusetts woman has launched a potential class action lawsuit against Google, saying the tech giant is unfairly using people around the world to help it transcribe books, addresses, and newspaper. As part of its recaptcha program, which is Google's own version of a security program called Captcha.
Yeah, Captcha.
We've all experienced that.
We've all done the recaptcha.
Google requires website users to decipher words displayed as distorted images on their computer screens before users can access websites or certain features of the website.
I get it. I understand. So the recaptcha that you're going through, and it has like a blurry word or something like that, is helping them with their scanning algorithms on books to read text of different formats.
Yes.
So if they get human input for their machine learning models, it's beneficial to the algorithms when it reads a scanned book that may have like an obtuse looking text or a bad scan itself.
Yeah, so the calculator...
That is hysterical.
Yeah.
It's horribly efficient.
Yes.
But, this is interesting. So go ahead. So how does she
So
come
the
to
company is
lawsuit?
unfairly profiting off the labor of others as users enter extra words that aren't part of any security requirement. According to a suit filed Friday in U.S. District Courts in Massachusetts, she signed up for a Gmail account and was forced to respond to a recaptcha prompt by typing two words that were displayed as two distorted images. And she did not receive any compensation for transcribing the second word. The suit states that the Google's recaptcha program is unique in that it often requires users to type two separate words displayed as a distorted image to proceed past the program.
I always wonder why it has me do it twice.
The suit alleges that Google has used the service to transcribe scanned images of books and newspapers.
See, this is what I said ahead of time.
And also to decipher addresses found in images captured as part of Google's Street View project. But, because there's two sides to every story, but as Google continues to digitize books, newspapers, and other images that cannot be deciphered by scanning technology, the suit alleges the company has turned to humans to do their work for them.
That's interesting because the payback, this is kind of like a twofold thing. This could go both ways.
I'm going to tell you the bad section here in a second.
Yeah, it's like we're scanning books so that we can open up the availability of knowledge to everyone across the globe. That sounds pretty cool.
That sounds cool, yeah.
We were not forthright in telling you why we were having you do two separate images.
Right.
Right? This has been the problem with tech altogether, and it's this classic, Google fashion. They take a black box approach and lack any sort of transparency to tell you why you're putting in labor. And if you told people why you were doing it, they'd feel better about it. And if you didn't tell them and they had to do it twice,
right,
we'll give them a couple shekels for it.
Mm-hmm.
But so let's continue. This is really interesting.
Yeah, the lawsuit states that Google profits by selling transcribed versions of books through Google Books and by selling its services to companies like the New York Times to transcribe archived versions of its newspapers.
Yeah.
The damage could be in the millions and could affect hundreds of thousands of people around the world, according to the suit. In 2009, Google acquired recaptcha to create searchable archives of old newspapers and books. This is according to Forbes. A Google spokesman said the company had no comment. So I want to get into this part
it's
about
interesting ethics thing.
Yeah. So I love that they're taking books. I've gone on there and I've seen books that are out of print that Google Books has on there.
Yeah, and I like the availability where I can read it.
Like and that. Being a history buff and loving history, I want every book Because that Fahrenheit 451, I think is what it was, that movie. And I had told you about that, the old 1960s movie where everybody was just watching flat screen TVs.
Yeah, flat screen TVs and firemen burning books.
Firemen burning books because they didn't want people to understand. So I don't care how absurd the book is, whether it's the Satanic Bible or it's the, I don't care what book it is. It needs to be archived. And we need to have it so that it's saved forever.
Yeah, it's the storage of knowledge. And I'm actually trying to wrap my head around this in my brain because I'm torn.
Right. Well, Google should have run it like Wikipedia. They should have said, "You're helping us save history."
That would have been it. And if there was, okay, I got it now. So you are helping us preserve history,
right? By
going through, and we're using the collective power of all of us to, enhance these algorithms so it can better learn and read textual information or information about our world, and then put that into a digital format efficiently so that it can then be reread and reaccessed. Now, if that's cool, people will be cool with that. But then if you're going to turn around now and make a business, a monetary financial stream out of it,
right?
Now you've crossed the line.
Right.
Now that compensation should be going back to those people.
Well, Google Books should be free, or a version of it should be free, and then it should be a huge search engine like Google's so good at. Mm-hmm. Like, and how many college students would this help if they could go in there and then search, and then next thing you know, it gave you this list of books that were talking about that subject.
Okay, so I think this is cool because I personally have an interesting way of learning through books, how I teach myself. So I read a lot. You read a lot. Look at all the books around us. We're smart like a lawyer. You walk in, he's got a bunch of legal books on the wall. He must know what he's doing. What I do with a book is as I'm reading it, if I understand something or don't understand it, or if I found something that was of great value that made whatever it might be, intellectual or emotional value, it's underlined. I notate whatever the conscious thought was that came with it, and then I tabulate it so I can go back and reference. And then as I'm finished with a book, what I do is I take that and I transfer all of the notes, all of the underlined sentences, whatever it might be, into a completely separate journal. And then I have a huge body of books that I do that with, and they all get transferred and translated into this one single journal. Then I can go back and I look for things that corroborate with one another. I look for things that have correlations across these different books. If authors are sharing ideas, whatever it might be, and then I'm like, oh, that's something interesting. Mm-hmm. There must be truth within this, right? Or there must be a falseness because of how contradictory this is across all the boards. Someone doesn't know the truth of it. And so that's how I learn. So I look for the truth between the interconnectedness of, knowledge. And so when I look at what Google is doing, I would think it would be amazing if what I do physically could be put into an algorithm of scanned material. And as I begin to type things in, like a specific word or subject, it talks about how many books it goes through, the correlations and the differences between those books. And if that's something, pop that up.
That is machine learning helping humanity.
That's machine learning helping humanity. That's super cool.
Yes.
But if I'm going around to New York Times and like, hey, New York Times, we just had hundreds of millions of people across the globe do recaptcha, and they've refined our algorithms. And so we can scan all your old newspapers and we can guarantee you that it's going to read them properly, but you got to pay us a huge chunk of change. Well, who really put in the labor to do that?
Right.
And if we consider Turtle, you put in the labor of creating data, mm-hmm. You need to share in that value of that data creation. You deserve that compensation. It's like, when you go to work, you want payment for the labor you put in.
Yeah, and I think this is a prime example of why Turtle exists.
Yeah, this is a prime example of why we exist. And this article in this class action lawsuit also shows you how society is changing. Their perception of the amount of time and work we put into online is changing, and how people are being much more critical of how the larger tech bodies, the more, the whales in the tech industry, how they continue to take that black box approach. There's very smart people that work at those companies.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
That they've come up with this.
They're
this
so
is
intelligent,
awesome.
right? But intelligence is a double-edged sword.
Right.
You always have to remember, you got to see full circle, like, well, where is the labor actually coming from?
Right.
it's cool that they put the collective power of everyone working together on it, but they weren't forthright and honest for why it was happening. And they weren't talking about how they were making a big buck off of it.
Yeah, it would be interesting. I mean, they made no comment, but it'll be interesting to when the lawsuit hits. We'll have to keep up to date on it and maybe make a part 2 on this.
Yeah. No, I thought that was that's terribly interesting. It's terribly interesting.
Okay, I mean, just think of the future real quick before we go, and you can comment on this, where AI, I mean, you have machine learning now, but AI gets to the point to where it can know every book that's ever been in the world. And then we could ask it questions and it can make decisions based off of facts that it correlated through these books that it found these truths in.
Yeah, I think that'd be phenomenal.
To access that wisdom.
It's like digitizing the Library of Alexandria before the damn Romans came in and burnt the thing down.
Yeah, sad.
Yeah, it was all that knowledge in one place. And, you had to go and, do it yourself, do your own indexing. But now we have the power of assimilating that with efficiency in a digitized format. There's incredible answers in that collective power. Mm-hmm. And I'm excited to see what that future looks like.
Google can absorb Wikipedia and then
Wikipedia goes to crap.
Or maybe they could make it a not-for-profit like it is, and then combine Google Books with Wikipedia, and there you go.
Or Google
could you imagine it say, here's an article, and then or make a version of Wikipedia. Here's an article, here's what everybody's saying about it, and then here's what books are saying about it.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Because then it gives you all the different phase states and the different truths depending on how they are in perspective.
I mean, yeah, could you, if I type in
societal
decentralization,
yeah. A doctoral perspective and an author perspective.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, and then combine white papers with it, what are leading scientists saying?
It's awesome. Yeah. And then, it comes to some sort of relative, output where you're like, oh, this is interesting. And then the thing to determine this is probably not truthful at the moment, or it lacks any truth.
Yeah, it would come out.
It'd be cool.
Yeah, it'd probably be the #1 research site in the world.
Yeah, it would. And there's no reason why Google couldn't donate to Wikipedia. What do they ask for, like $2 from people?
Yeah, exactly.
We could have this whole thing done in 30 minutes of all the Wikipedia users. Google, give them some money.
They don't have a lot, so.
Yeah, they don't. They have very
razor
little.
Thin,
yeah,
razor thin profit margins.
They're almost in the red. Not a chance they're in the black.
ABC.
The
That's
alphabet.
fine. Don't they have a big sign up at Google? And doesn't it say like "do good" or something like that? I heard something. I'm going to look it up real quick because I want to make sure I'm.
Bring this up right now. I mean, do you know how many ethics officers they've gone through at Google? Just that statement alone, I just made is worrisome to think about. Why are you going through so many different ethics officers? What is possibly happening over there?
No, it's a phrase used in Google's corporate code of conduct, and it says "don't be evil." And they have that really big, like, don't be evil.
Evil's a function of perspective. They could be thinking they're doing a lot of good, but good for one person could be evil for another.
Yeah,
that's
evil,
way too.
Yeah, it's way too.
I get it,
Luciferic.
But yeah, there's some sort of Luciferian agenda. It's too. It's nebulous in perspective because you can manipulate how Google manipulates data.
Yeah, I don't know.
You can manipulate that sentence any way you want.
This is on Wikipedia.
Thank you, Wikipedia.
Don't be evil is a phrase used in Google's corporate code of conduct, which is also formally preceded as a motto. Following Google's corporate reconstructing under the conglomerate Alphabet Incorporated in October 2015, Alphabet took "do the right thing" as its motto, also forming the opening of its corporate code of conduct. The original motto was retained in Google's code of conduct, now a subsidiary of Alphabet. In April 2018, the motto was removed from the code of conduct's preface and retained in its last sentence. Mm-hmm. So they changed it from "don't be evil" to "do the right thing."
Yeah, and it shouldn't even be "do the right thing." It should be "do something truthful."
Yeah. How is what you're doing helping humanity?
Yeah. Just what is the right thing?
Yes.
Who's to say that it was right?
Globally.
When you act truthfully, well, that's obviously the right thing to do. Because that's just logically how that falls into place. But I don't know, it's just it's too biased and perspective driven. There's too many dogmas that could be built into saying I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah, or don't
people
be
thought
evil.
that the church thought that the Children's Crusade was the right thing.
Yeah, they could say "don't be evil."
Yeah, don't be evil.
Yeah,
but go
out here, they're doing evil.
But go out here and fight and slaughter.
Yeah, because then you get into this. Dogma that becomes. Look at right now with mask and not wearing mask and all that. Look at how polarizing it is.
Yeah, it's very polarizing. You know, it's almost hypocritical when I sort of think about the statement. Google does so much work with data.
Yeah.
Data is agnostic, non-dogmatic. It's not biased. It's not political.
Right.
But your corporate policy already has like biases and dogmas built into it. It's like you're contradicting the thing that supports who you are.
Yeah. And in YouTube alone, I mean, so many people have gotten taken off of YouTube.
Yeah.
You know, just based off of
It just it's like it's just a little hypocritical.
yeah, I think so.
I'll call. I'm not saying Google is bad. I'm just saying that it's hypocritical. It's
Yeah,
not
we'll
what-
get 0 views from this video.
It's just
'Cause
not
guess
very-
what this video is going on.
Yeah, because going on YouTube, it's just not very well thought through. That's all. They didn't take the time to think it through.
Their algorithms, like, they're talking about Google. Don't be evil. What?
Yeah, like what is that? Corporate policy, red flag. Do not let that go on YouTube.
I know, but I do appreciate the technology. I appreciate everything that is happening in this world right now to make our lives better. And I think the end goal, I'm optimistic for humanity.
Yeah.
And as the world becomes more flat, and we know about that book, you know, the world is flat. And as information begins to communicate, especially in third world countries, and turtles, you know, I'm super excited about the future of how it's going to elevate humanity.
Yeah.
Just knowledge alone will elevate.
Yeah. Education, transparency, and availability of resources. And, you know, the newer iterations of Turtle that we have coming out, if there's everything in the system explains what it is, how it's working, and why it's there. So it's not going to be like a recaptcha event where you're like, why am I doing this? Right. It's not black box like that. It's not a Google approach. You're going to know exactly what's going on and why it's there.
I love that.
Everything has a reason, and we're forthright and truthful about that.
Yeah. And that's the way it should be.
Yeah, that's exactly how it should be.
Thank you for listening to TotalCast with your hosts Alexander McKegg and Jason Rigby, where humanity steps into the future and source data defines the path. What's your data worth?